Waters. My name is Hussein Kashif, and this is my brother,
Zaid Kashif. And today we're starting the first episode of our podcast, Thru Deep Waters. It's really exciting for us. Essentially what this podcast is going to be essentially about telling the stories of young people, talking about the experiences of young people and telling their stories and bringing us and our experiences out to the world. Maybe hopefully, hoping that listeners can also benefit from our experiences too. I feel like a lot of young people that I know that we've talked to have a lot of stories to tell. And I've learned a lot from people who are also within my age group as well as role models as well. So I feel like potentially in terms of like the life lessons that we can take from each other and stuff, I think we can create a platform here that can help us do that. So with that in mind, welcome to Thru Deep Waters. This is the first episode, the pilot. I think it's called the pilot. They call the first episode the pilot?
Yeah, I'd say they call it the pilot.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the reason why I'm really interested in this, why I really want to do this podcast.
Okay.
So let's set up context. I'm 20 years old. I'm a university student. Zaid is 22, turning 23 soon. Most of the people that I hang out with, I've been introduced to through Zaid. They're older than me. So like when I came in first year, I was hanging out with third years. And I was spending a lot of my time with people who are older than me and have a lot more wisdom and maturity than me. Because of that, I've realized that I have to stop talking and to start listening. Once I started listening, I started realizing that everybody has gone through their own form of adversity or something in their life that has made them better or stronger in a way. That's just made me realize, like, sometimes you need to stop talking. You just need to listen. You need to understand why this person went through that, what it did to them. Why can I gain something from this knowledge? And the more I've learned that, the more I felt that I've matured. And I feel like being able to do this podcast, regardless of how many listeners we end up with, be it 1 or 1,000 or 1 million.
I feel like if one person benefits, I'm happy.
That's all that matters. Like if one person can listen to us or one of the potential guests in the future and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going through something similar to this. Now that I know how person X has gone through this, maybe this can help me with going through it too.
The whole idea is that if I had a challenge, let's say for example in my life, which is what we're going to get to later in this episode today, but let's say I had a challenge in my life or Hussein had a challenge in his life, we can go through our experience with that challenge, what we went through, what we learned from it, how we came out of it, and then somebody maybe can be like, oh, I'm going through something similar.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So this is kind of like a new first for me. I don't think you've ever done a platform like this either, have you? Where it's like you're speaking.
I've been told I'd be a really good YouTuber. The person who said this, I know you're probably listening to this.
I hope so. Like if not, then maybe they lied. No, but it's all good. So with that being said, welcome. So each episode, I guess I don't want to say like one topic, but we're gonna focus on discuss on a number of things per episode or like a certain theme per episode. You know what I mean? And relate our experiences to it, and then go back and try to give advice and try to show you guys what we went through and how you could take away from it. Today, the main thing that I want to talk about is my journey with weight loss. Right?
I'm in tip-top shape, as you can tell, so I don't really have any struggles.
None of us are perfect.
But I'm in tip-top shape, as you can tell, so I don't really have any struggles with this.
Okay. No.
That's why I'm wearing a hoodie. I don't want you guys to see how fucking fat I've become recently.
Yeah, so essentially the issue that I wanted to address with this episode...
You're not going to tell them?
I am.
We had a technical difficulty, and that's why we cut.
Yeah, so...
Sorry, normally on podcasts people explain that, but I don't know, he didn't want to explain it.
That's my first episode. Go easy on me.
Anyways, you were saying?
Okay, sorry, expert. Okay.
YouTuber. I'll continue.
Okay. Essentially, what we want to talk about in this episode is weight loss as a theme, as a journey, as a step that you decide to take, the right reasons for taking it, why people want to go through that change in their lives, what it can do, what effects it has, what are the potential pitfalls, you know what I mean? So I think it's like, it's born out of the fact that like in our society today there's a lot of junk food. A lot of people are just eating really unhealthy food. You know what I mean? Everybody's is like consuming anything that you eat, the burgers that you eat, the pizzas, anything. Even if you go out just to get a coffee from Starbucks or whatever, like all of our stuff, like technically speaking, is like filled with sugars, fats, junk, all type of stuff. So it's very, very easy. Not saying everybody's fat, but it's very easy to gain weight. You know what I mean? So obesity becomes a prevalent issue in our society, especially among young people who grew up in this commercialized society that we now live in, more so than, like, especially us. We have, like, you know, parents from back home. And we like, our parents didn't get you, like, maybe we're not as, you know, entrenched in this kind of consumerist, like, junk food driven society as we are. So it becomes a problem. You know what I mean? So I think it's a very, very like, it's an important thing to discuss.
You know what I think is interesting too is the types of people that we are on this podcast. For example, we've both had struggles with weight loss, obviously some more than others. No, that genuinely wasn't a dig. So I've never been fat, but I've definitely been, like, ripped. You know, at a point in my life, I was exercising daily. I was eating well. I was working out, and I had a really toned body, and I was looking good. And during that time, you were quite the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I was fat. Keep it real. I was fat.
You were quite a large individual.
Just say I'm fat.
Who really enjoyed demolishing anything with ketchup on it. Really,
that's crazy. You see the kind of bullying that I was experiencing back in those days.
We're gonna have a whole other episode on bullying, and you're gonna be the star of that. Don't even worry.
No, you
regardless,
can't even talk to me about. Anyway,
I digress.
Anyway,
it's a little bit interesting because, contrary to what you would think, today, I'm the one who struggles with weight loss, whereas he's the one who's, thanks to God, he's so dedicated and set in his way of, I've lost my weight and I'm keeping it that way.
It's not just about losing weight; it's about having a healthy lifestyle too.
Of course, but it's like, it just shows that it's so much more easier said than done. You know, like you're not, and you've never been an athlete. You know, like when you did weight loss, you were never like excellent as a sport and you wanted to excel at your sport, so that's why you did weight loss. You did it simply for your health. Whereas me,
no, let's keep it real. Maybe that's not the real reason. Like, a lot of it goes into your mind.
We're gonna talk about them now.
Okay.
But for me, for example, I have to lose weight because of the situation that I'm in physically, the sports that I want to play that require me to be a lot lighter than I am, yet I still struggle so much with losing weight. Just to show that it's so much more easier said than done.
Right.
But let's talk about how did you, what was that turning point for you where you were like, okay, that's it, I'm gonna start losing weight.
That's
like, I'm
crazy.
doing it now.
It was a number of factors. So, so people who don't know me, maybe they don't know, but in my last couple of years of high school, and they call it sixth form, we did the British system, the A-levels. If anybody there is like British who's watching this, we did the British A-level system, and I was in a new school for my A-levels. So those year 12, year 13, the last 2 years of high school, I went to a new school. And I didn't make many friends in that school. I had a very bad social life in that school, and I was in a very low point. I had, okay, like, keep it real, I was in high school. There was this girl that I was interested in at the time. You know, it's not like I did anything. I was just, you know what I mean? Like, I was a kid. Like,
Everyone has crushes.
It was a crush. It was a crush.
Yeah.
So that crush, her friend was also a friend of mine. Just like friends, you know? So she came to me and she told me, like, at a certain point, I was asking her, oh, would you think there could be a possibility that maybe something can happen? You know what I mean? I was childish. You know what I mean? I was curious. So, you know, obviously man's on his deen. So I don't condone relationship like that. But all I'm saying is, it's my experience. You know what I mean? I was childish. You know, I was like a high school kid. No judgment. You know what I mean?
Okay, continue, man.
So yeah. Essentially, I asked her friend. I said, like, we had a mutual friend. I asked her, like, oh, would you think she'd be interested in me? And the friend looked me dead in my face and said, Zaid, no one is gonna ever look at you, talk to you, anything as long as you look like that. I said, at our age,
That's tough.
at our age, we have no money, no power, no influence, no security. All we have is looks. No one's just gonna go off of your personality by itself. You need to also have looks. I know, crazy.
That's deep, though.
like-
That's really deep.
That day, I think I just I wanted to go and like harm myself that evening from how hurt and affected I was by that statement. But it just made me realize, like, I don't know, I think with me is I've always been able to And this is like a thing that I also want to discuss. Like, okay, yeah, you can start in a negative area. You know, like I had that comment. I heard this type of, you know, I don't want to call it insult, but it was like a slap in the face. You know, so I heard it, and I could have either just sat in my place and just been, you know, yeah, I'm a sorry human being, or I could have continued and pushed myself and turned that negative reality into a positive future. You know, it's like a positive action. So I didn't want to sell it myself. You know what I mean? So I just went ahead the next day. I went started jogging. I didn't go to the gym immediately. I said, okay, let me make some changes. Fixed up small things in my diet. Started jogging. Said, let me make some small changes. You know, I knew like, and the next thing that I wanted to talk about as well is the concept, the idea of dedication and perseverance. You know what I mean? I knew this was not gonna be easy. I knew the first month was gonna be tough, horrible. You know, like it's like a pattern. You're not used something that you're not used to doing that you now start doing. It was gonna be horrible, but I went with it. You know, like I stuck with it. I said, okay, you know what? Let me put like, you know how there's the Muhammad Ali quote, something about pain is temporary, glory is forever, championships ever.
Like yeah, like when he was talking about how like when he works out in the gym, like he doesn't enjoy it. It's suffering, but he knows that it's if he suffers now, he's gonna win later. You know. And by the way, going through even that first, so essentially it takes 2 weeks for an individual to get into a routine. You know, and like this timing may vary depending on what the routine is. If you're trying to change your whole lifestyle,
I feel like it takes longer. So
if you're trying to change your whole lifestyle and eat better and live healthier, it takes longer than 14 days. And for someone to completely uproot that lifestyle and just adapt such a healthy living, and like I witnessed this, I was there, you know. He did it and made it look easy, you know.
it wasn't easy.
Mashallah, like it was so inspiring to watch, because how many people do you know that are like struggling with something that they know is a problem and they just don't have the mental strength to even start doing something about it, you know, because it's not a simple thing, you know. Me, for example, I watch about 400 motivational boxing videos a day telling me to get my ass in the gym, and every night I'm like, you know what, that's it, tomorrow I'm going to the gym, I'm gonna run. Never happens, because I don't have that mental strength. That doesn't mean that I will never have that mental strength, you know. And I have a very good point of reference to look at with Zaid, but having just that ability to say no, that's it, and nothing is gonna stop me from reaching this goal, and being disciplined, because at the end of the day, discipline will always beat motivation, because discipline will get you through times that motivation will never get you through. So I commend you, like, to be able to go through all of that. Like, that's amazing.
But that's not the point. Like, we're not here for all that. We're here to say like, okay, there's like 2-3 things that help me. Maybe they can help you in terms of thinking about it, in terms of routines, things to watch out for, stuff like that. I feel like it's really important. There's a really important concept that you have to understand when you enter this type of like change, is that you have to accept the grind. Is what I like to say. Today, especially in terms of weight loss, you're not gonna look different today, no matter what you do, unless you get like a liposuction and take out, like, you know what I mean, something like that. You're not, whatever you do today, you look the same as you did in the morning. You'll do in the evening. You know what I mean? You're not gonna make that change today. You're not gonna make that change this week. Your actions today can't help what you look like today. This is a reality you just have to face. Whatever you do today, it can't really make any changes with how you look today. You have to focus on, okay, today I'm set, but next year is all up for grabs. Next year, if I sit on my ass, I will look exactly how I am now, maybe worse, next year. But if I do something today, okay, I've lost today in terms of my progress or the goal that I want to achieve, but next year I can be there. And you can, once you ingrain that, you can push forward and you can really, really like make the goal realistic. You're not going to change quickly. Anybody who changes quickly, like all those like keto diets and stuff like that, it's unsustainable. You want to make this a lifestyle, Like
there's no quick fix.
Yeah, accept the grind is what I'm trying to say. It's going to take time. That's fine. I think also like a big motivator is seeing your progress. For me, the biggest one. Mama used to call me. My mother used to call me Zaid Abu Khudud. You know, which means in Arabic it means like I have big cheeks. You know what I mean? Zaid with the big cheeks, and the biggest like moment of oh my god, this is working is when my cheeks started, like it was the ever so slightest like lessening.
Can we? No, I'm gonna stop you right there.
What?
Can we talk about the exercises you used to do in the car?
Oh, we'll get to them later. We'll get to that. Well, it's some funny stuff too. We'll get to that later. I was also like subconscious about my appearance too, so I used to do some weird stuff and like not weird stuff, but like some different type of exercises in the car.
It's just the kind of thing that you should really do alone in your room.
Let's get into it. Okay, I was paranoid about my jawline. I wanted to have a jawline. I don't know how. Like, thankfully, I've gotten a little bit better at it than now. But I used to basically look up jawline exercises to exercise this portion of your thing and keep those muscles tight and stuff. Certain exercises when it comes to like pushing the jaw forward, stretching it downward, that I used to do in the car that had an embarrassing appearance, and then he used to make fun of me as well, and then my little brother also used to make fun of me.
No, wait. Why don't you demonstrate the exercise?
I think I'm good for the first episode.
For the listeners, because the listeners might want to get in on this jawline.
It's really not that big of a deal. It really didn't do much. Like, it's all good. We're okay. First episode. Let me at least maintain some semblance of dignity.
If we get 20 likes, do it on the next episode.
Save it for later. Save it for later. You know, save it for
it's something you don't want to miss. You do not want to miss this.
It's really not that crazy. It's not that crazy. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying before you digressed, is that how you say that?
Yeah.
Before you digressed and interrupted me, the biggest progress sign for me was I was beating that nickname finally. Zaid Abu Khudud. I was finally beating that nickname. I was like, the cheeks became not like you would notice it if you were a normal person or you weren't me and looking at me every single day in the mirror, but like they just became a little bit less chubby. So that motivated me, like, oh, this is working. Let's go move forward. You know what I mean? But yeah, and it just kept me pushing for a while. But then, like, also eventually, what it is too is progress is not linear. You know what I mean? Sometimes you might reach a point in whatever you're doing, whether it's weight loss, whether it's any avenue of life, you're gonna hit a plateau. You know what I mean? You're gonna reach a point where something stops working, progress stops being made, and there's a reason for that. Whether or not it's like, you know what I mean? I'm not sure what it could be, but like every situation has its own dynamic. So for me, I reached a point where I went weeks without progress. In my weight loss, I went for like a number of weeks where I wasn't making any progress. I wasn't losing weight. My appearance wasn't changing. I was going really hard in the gym. Like my physical activity was like up. I was playing sports. I was eating right. Like I didn't change the fact that I was eating right, but I just like stopped losing weight. And that made me realize, like in that moment, if it was super demoralizing, like I could have just given up then and there, or I could have taken the approach of which I did take. Okay, I've came this certain way far to reach this place that I'm in. What's wrong? I took like a scientific approach, right? Like in science, like let's say for example you're doing physics, you know what I mean? And you have your formula that you're gonna work out your answer, whether it's like E equals MC squared, whatever. Like I got a C in physics, leave me alone. But whatever it is, like something, if your formula keeps giving you the wrong answer, something is not right in your ingredient, like in your numbers that you're putting in your formula, the ingredients, the things, the process that you're doing. Doesn't mean that you're not putting effort. Bro, I'm really trying to solve this formula. It doesn't mean that you're not putting effort, but it means that hold on, let me...
Technical difficulties?
Yeah, I don't know about technical difficulties. I just need to fix this password.
Technical difficulties? That's the longest password I've ever seen in my life. What are you, Fort Knox?
I don't know, bro. Like, it's just something that I didn't think anyone would think of. Please don't look back at this video and try to retrace what I wrote on this password.
They're gonna hack your... What are they gonna hack?
The one viewer that we're gonna
there you go.
Is gonna look and be like,
As you were saying.
It's gonna be someone from Norway or something. Like someone like up deep in like in the north. And he's gonna be watching us and he's gonna like crack down my thing and hack into all my computer. I'm sorry. Like, Ashad, you know,
Continue.
like, anyway. But yeah, so I reached like, it comes to a point where it's like, you know, something is not working. It doesn't mean you're not putting effort. Like, I'm really trying to solve this problem. You're really trying to put this formula into perspective. But something isn't working. It doesn't equate to effort. It means there's a scientific mistake in your approach, and you can go fix it. Sometimes changing the smallest simple ingredient can really have a profound effect on the end solution. You know,
Give us an example.
okay. So when I stopped making progress, so you know what they say, like, let's say for a big person, let's say if you're a certain size when you start, and you lose some weight, you lose some weight, you lose some weight, you keep your diet constant. And I'm not saying you have to always be cutting down what you eat, but you have to always evaluate based on your current weight and see, for example, for a 100 kilogram person, eating 2,600 calories might help them lose weight because they're used to eating maybe 5,000, you know? But once your body gets now used to that, you're going to shake things up. No, maybe don't even eat like less calories. Maybe, okay, what if you lost 10 kilos? Maybe you eat like 2,400 now. But maybe you even don't do that. Maybe you start intermittent fasting. Something to shake up because your body will get used to what you're doing. It catches on. You have a smart system. It catches on. So for me, I reached the point where I started weight loss at 100 something kilograms. I reached like 90 and I stopped losing weight. I don't know why, but then I took a different approach. Thankfully, Ramadan came around the corner as well, so I started fasting. I dropped my calories a little bit. By that point, I was measuring my calories. So I think I was eating 2,500 at the time, and then I dropped it to 2,300 or 2,200, started fasting, and then I also changed up my workout routine. So, you know what, let me shock my body. I'll change up my workout routine. I was putting the same level of effort that I was putting before and then I'm putting now. But it had like a crazy effect after where I started progress not only restarted, it accelerated because I looked at, okay, what are the individual factors I can fix instead of just being in desperation over the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I took that approach and I stuck with it. Sometimes it might take a couple of weeks for you to see progress. So you stick with it. You see, okay, what is the thing that's wrong? It might take time to implement the solution. Just keep going on it,
Let's fast forward a little bit. I'm gonna ask you this question because I know a lot of people are gonna want to know your take on this because everyone goes through this when they have such a major change in their life.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel your mind, your ego was affected after you lost all that weight?
Oh, that's crazy.
And do you think that the days of you being larger, like still to this day, play on your mind?
Definitely, most definitely. I think I want to get into that a little bit later because I have an idea. There's some things that I want to speak about, especially regarding to that in terms of your ego and what that validation does to you. But we'll definitely speak on that later, but it's definitely a good point to bring up because no one is going to change that much and not have it affect their ego. It's inevitable. People look at you differently. You know what I mean? But I digress anyway. I think before that, I want to discuss something that I frame in my mind as food mind games. I don't want to use the term anorexia. I'm not a doctor, so I don't understand what these terms all mean, and I don't want to say whatever. I want to say anorexic, anything, whatever. But I reached a point definitely, I think around 78 kilograms, something like that, where I began to have a really toxic relationship with food, right? I started eating very little because I was like, I need to keep losing weight. I need to keep eating less. Before, when I had started on like a scientific basis. I said, I looked at like online calorie counter calculators and stuff and said, okay, let me aim for this, see how it does to my body. Maybe I need to plus, maybe I need to minus. But I'm starting off of one like figure that I found online based on my weight, my height, my activity levels. It's like a formulaic approach, scientific approach that I was taking. Towards the end, all of that fell to the wayside. Like I just, started saying, I need to eat less for the sake of eating less. I just want to be so far in the deficit that I lose that weight quicker. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, if I could, let's say if I ate 1,200 calories today, I might lose half a kilogram. But if I could eat 600 calories today, and lose a full kilogram by the end of the week staying like that, I was eating 600 calories a day. Like, it was that deep to where, like, my diet was very badly deficient. Even though I do have still a lot of bags under my eyes, I'm dealing with some sleep issues at the moment, but at the time, they were very massive. Like, you could clearly see, like, it looked like I splattered, like, purple paint under my eyes. It was bad for me. Deficiencies of every vitamin that I had. And it is, like, essentially, like, you start becoming obsessed with this sense of eating as little as possible. You want to eat as little as possible. When you feel, you know how like normal, or like not normal, let's say people who have a healthy relationship with food, when they get hungry, when they feel the sense of hunger, they're like, oh, I'm hungry now, so let's go and eat. You know what I mean? Let's fill this hunger. I had a different relationship. I said, oh, I'm hungry. I love this feeling. It means something's working. You know how crazy that is? It means I'm doing something right. My body is in a state where it needs food and I'm not giving it to it, and I'm able to stand and be strong in that. How crazy is that? You know? So essentially that's what it was. And I just, you know, like I wanted to make sure like that I lost as much weight as possible, and I was doing very, very toxic things to do with that. Essentially I just became like, it was tough for me to get out of that pattern when I started to see that it had negative effects on my body. And actually I needed to go see a dietitian, and even when they drafted a plan for me for my food, I had to trust that this was gonna work, this was gonna be like, you know what I mean, scientifically. There's a dietitian, somebody with a university degree on all this, that knows what they're doing, that they gave me you know what I mean, they gave me that advice, and I said like, okay, let me follow their program. But even that was so hard to trust because I was so far gone. And I think what I want to say is in terms of advice is just be careful. Don't, especially when you're dealing with something sensitive like this, you know what I mean, where your body can often mislead you. Don't fall into the trap of those toxic mindsets and freestyling how much you should eat, thinking you can multiply the effects of weight loss by eating less. Trust scientific method. Trust studies, trust proven weight loss, healthy weight loss techniques, I would say, you know? And in that way, you can really if you base everything on science, if you say, like, I'm going to take out how I feel, if I feel fat today, if I feel bloated today, if I feel full, then I don't want to feel full. I'm going to take all of that, like my feelings, I'm not listening to them for the moment, especially when you're in a toxic... Obviously, you have to listen to your body, but when you're in a toxic place, you also have to work around it and say, actually, I'm going to listen to science, dietitian. I want to see a dietitian, seek help. You know what I mean? And the help told me, off of a scientific study, that, oh, you need to eat like this. Make sure you hit this much calories. We measured your body fat levels. We measured everything. We've analyzed your body. You need to eat like this. And for those of us who might not have access to those type of means, I would say like there's so many online calorie calculators that'll give you similar numbers to what I got at the dietitian, and they're available for free. You just Google search online calorie maintenance level calculator or whatever. Find your maintenance level, calculate like calories, and then just subtract a little bit, not even too much, and go with that. And then you'll just lose weight. And as your weight drops down, your maintenance level will also drop down. So if you feel like you stop losing weight, find your new maintenance level and keep going. You're basing everything off of science. You're not basing anything off of, oh, let me just eat 200 calories today and I'm so happy because I'll starve. You know? And that's, like, I guess, how you combat those primal urges, because at the end of the day, they are primal urges, right? Mm-hmm. You combat them.
God knows there's primal urges. Oh, don't even get me started on these primal urges, bro.
Okay, we might have to edit that out still.
Why?
But anyway, like, that's how you combat them. By science, evidence, and research. That's what as humans, we're so evolved. We have research. We have science. We have studies. We can measure so much in such crazy detail. So why don't we, you know what I mean? Why don't we do that? Why do we still listen to those old methods that we have, which will not give you a precise result like this one? They can often lead you down a toxic place. That's what I'm thinking. So I think that's an important thing to say. What's your take on that, Hussein?
I don't know. My whole relationship with weight and weight loss and all that is quite different, you know. And it's I think here's where it gets a little bit interesting, because I'm not like Zaid in the sense that I'm not one to do a lot of research. I'm not one to trust in numbers.
Why not?
Because I've always been about action, you know.
But your action has to be based on something.
For example, I have done sports, intense sports, for as long as I can remember, since I was extremely young. When I was like 5 years old and I was kicking a football, and I was kicking a football until I was 15. Then on top of football, I started playing basketball. When I was doing both of these, I was also at the gym every day. That's a lot. That's a lot of exercise. It keeps you skinny. It keeps the muscles like sharp, and it keeps the body toned. And then I went to university, and that's when it kind of started going downhill, because when you're in school, you have the football team at school. You have you have the basketball team at school. You also play recreationally with your friends. You have the time and the energy to go running, even go to the gym. So you don't really have the need to do any extra exercise. You're doing exactly what you want to do, however much of it you want to do. And that's what was keeping me in shape the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then I came here, and here the opportunities are limited. It's very hard to get into the football team here, especially being from another country. It's very hard to do anything but play recreationally. And even with playing recreationally, because of, for example, how cold it is, we can't play football outside anymore.
Especially
because it's so cold.
I think in your first year here, did they open the indoor?
It was open. Oh, okay. But it was tough. You try to balance your studies with going on a 20-minute walk there and back and playing an hour and a half there every day. It's not easy. Obviously, I'm making a lot of excuses for myself, but that's essentially when it stopped being right in front of me and I had to go and get it. That's when I started gaining weight. So then in my head, it was always like, oh, okay, so if I want to lose weight, I just have to go back to that level of exercise. And you know what? It was working. Let's fast forward a year and a half. I started boxing. And then,
that was a big life-changing thing for you, wasn't it?
Huge for me. So when I started boxing, I started getting better and better and better. And I had this coach who was very invested in me, and he really wanted me to do well. And at one point, I was in the gym. I was working. I was coming in 45 minutes before every session, staying after every session. Just like doing cardio. I was skipping. I remember I was skipping that day. And then the main coach, not my coach, the main coach comes into the gym and he's like, "Hey, bear in mind, it's December." He's like, "Hey, I have a fight for you. If you want to fight, you can do it in April." And I was like, "Okay, so what, 5 months? What do I need to do?" He's like, "You have to drop, 8 kilograms? You have to drop 8 kilograms." Because I was really heavy at the time. So I went to my coach. I was like, let me talk to coach and I'll get back to you. And I'll tell you if he wants me to do it, I'm there. So I talked to my coach. And I was like, what do you think? Do you think I can drop 8 kilograms? And on top of that, do you think I'll be ready to fight? And he's like, you definitely can. So then what he did is he gave me, he gave me a reason to start exercising to the level I was exercising. So I was training every single day, and it wasn't no like small training sessions. He would push me. Bear in mind, I've played football and basketball my whole life. I've never been pushed in any of those training sessions in my whole life as I have with this coach in boxing, to the point where I wanted to throw up, to the point where I couldn't lift my hands up anymore, And on top of that, he was like, as a starting point, we were only at the start here. It's like, at a starting point, I want a total of 10 kilometers ran every week. I want a screenshot every Saturday at the end of the week that you've ran the 10 kilometers. Here's the catch. You can only do it in 3 runs. So 3K, 3K, and 4K. Because of that, I had him relying on me. It wasn't just me doing it for myself anymore. If I don't do it, coach looks bad. So I was running. I did it. I never missed a single run. I even went over sometimes. I was like, what? If I do 10K, he'll be happy. If I do 11, he'll be even happier. So I did 11. Sometimes I did 12, And then what happened? Then I tore my ACL.
Let's get into that, in terms of your ACL. But I also just want to highlight before you start saying about that essentially what we'd take away from your discussion is, I guess, sometimes you might need to frame things in your mind differently to help you put it in, get the determination. What motivates me might not motivate you. You were more motivated in the boxing aspect when you had a fight, when you had something that you could go towards. You know what I mean? I feel like that's important to say, because everybody has what's important to them. Find what's important to you and use it to fuel that change that you want.
Yeah, so essentially, like, point being, for myself, it was never a matter of like one of the reasons that you started losing weight is because you wanted to look better, right?
Right.
That was never an issue for me because in terms of looks, and like, not to brag, but I looked in shape.
He's always been a good
No, I'm not
guy.
talking about being attractive, but I looked in shape.
But you are
know?
attractive.
You're my brother, bro. Stop.
Why do you take things like that?
Stop. Thank you, though. But like, I've always been in shape, so
Crazy.
being good looking and looking in shape was never something that bothered me. So when I gained weight, I was like in the back of my head, I was like, okay, I wish I was like much thinner. But I never thought like, oh, I'm so ugly. I hate how I look. You know, never to that point. But I always told myself, when this weight starts affecting my function and the way my body works, that's when we have to start losing weight. And then when I got offered the fight, and he was like, you can't fight at 86 kilograms. You got to drop down to 78. I was like, okay, shit, I need to like really start hustling. And I did, you know, and the first, what was it? I think until the like mid-Jan. Yeah, right before the end of January, I tore my ACL. But for the first month, I dropped 2.5 kilograms. You know, and I have 4 months, so I was doing it at a steady pace. I didn't need to drop 6 kilograms in 1 month and then 2 in the other. You know, I was doing it steadily.
Right.
So I was right on track. I was exactly where I needed to be, and then I tore my ACL. And because of that, I couldn't exercise. You know, and it's been what, 9 months since I tore it, 7 months since the surgery. Now I'm a lot more able. But a part of me is still like, you don't have a fight coming up. You don't play for a club. You don't do anything of note, you know, that you need to lose weight for. So why are you going to lose weight? But another part of me is like, you will never do anything of note as long as you look like this, you know? And for me, the struggle is letting that side of me of you will never be anything if you don't exercise more and lose your weight. I need to let that side overcome the side of, oh, I'm not fighting. Why do I need to work out? You know? And here's where it gets less like my journey is not numerical and linear the way yours was.
Mine was not linear.
Like metric, sorry, metric is the word I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Mine is, and it still isn't, you know, like now I've taken up weight loss again. You know,
I just saw you eating waffles and...
I'm not eating very well. I'm eating less. I'm not eating very well, but I'm eating less.
Be healthy. Don't be, you know, anyway.
Point being, the other day, ever since my surgery, I started running again slowly. And I was like, I wanted to do my first 5K run like a month and a half ago. And every time I like get out there and I start running, I'll get to 3. I'm like, you know what? I did well today. Enough. I go home. And then the other day I was like, you know what? Like, I texted someone. I said, I'm doing a 5K right now. Because what I did there, because I texted this individual and I said, I'm doing a 5K right now. If I don't do the 5K, they're going to follow up. They're going to be like, yo, did you do that 5K? I don't have it in me to say, no, I quit. I can tell myself, yeah, it's time to quit, but I can never tell somebody else that I'm going to quit. So as long as I find that right way to motivate myself, like this is how it works in my head. If I can motivate myself and do the cardio I need to do and do the exercise that I need to do, eat a little bit better. See, here's the thing. I have no interest in eating the way you eat. I'm never gonna lie to myself and say I want to eat the way that this guy eats.
Okay, but me, I'm more like in a different space right now than all of that.
You know, no, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. Zaid came into my room one day.
No, that makes me come off so like
dedicated. Dedicated.
It makes me come off so stingy with my food. I eat a lot of calories. Right now, I'm eating 2,700 calories a day. That's not a small amount.
Comes into my room. There's something in his hand. He's like, yo, can you eat this? I don't want to throw it away. You know what it is? Tell them what it is.
Okay, so you...
It was a cornflake.
You can't...
No, not cornflakes. Cornflake. One singular cornflake. Okay, he's like, I don't want to exceed my calories. I have a certain... That's how metric you are. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing by any means necessary, because it's not.
No, because this is what that makes me look like, I'm still fighting that same battle that I was stingy with my food. It's not the same. With me, I'm eating a lot of calories, 2,700 calories a day. But I say I have dived deep into this whole idea of a scientific approach to say, okay, how can I really regulate what calories I eat in a day and make sure that this 2,700, which is a surplus for me, How do I make sure it's made of the right stuff? Okay, I bought a scale. I track all my calories on an application, my fitness pal. I make sure that I get a certain amount of foods. I have my macros tracked as well. I track my sugar levels. Like for me, I'm just in a different space where I don't let it affect my life. Like
And
I'm okay.
One cornflake can change everything.
No, but it's like the cornflake will not do anything. But in that space, it
It's
was
a mental
like
thing.
it's not even like a negative mental thing. Like I already packed up the cornflakes
I never said
box.
it was negative.
Hold on. I already packed up the cornflake box and put it away. And I said, okay, there's one, like my weight I wanted to eat, I think, what was it, 35 grams or 45 grams, whatever it was. It could be more, could be less. But it was like 36 or 46 is one guy. So I took out one cornflake and it went back down to 35. So I said, okay, like I put 35 grams in my calorie counter. I'm not bothered to go back and open this cornflake box and put this back in. And like, it's not going to do anything, but it's just like a testament to be like, oh, I'm precise. I'll make sure that I get this right. You know what I mean? So I just did it, like one time I said, okay, yo, you want to eat this really quick? Like I just don't want to be, like I don't have energy to put it back. And
Point is, I personally have no interest in living that kind of lifestyle. If I was you, I would have picked up 20 more cornflakes, put them all in my mouth. Because I enjoy my food.
I do too.
Which is why
You feel like you're saying I can't enjoy my food. I do.
When was the last time you had a pizza? When was the last pizza you ate?
5 months ago.
Point being,
What was the last pizza you ate?
I don't eat pizza. It's different because I don't enjoy pizza. Point being, while I still want to lose weight, what I don't want to sacrifice in food, I feel like I can sacrifice in extra exercise. You know, if I had a routine. I just recently was told to kind of relax because I had a consultation for my knee. But up until then, I had a routine that was working really well for me. I was doing a swim every week. On top of that, I was playing basketball recreationally once or twice, including sometimes a game. I was playing football twice a week. I was doing 2 5K runs a week. And on top of that, I was doing 3 sessions of boxing, like boxing cardio per week.
That's active.
And I was lifting weights.
Oof.
Every now and then. Okay. So and I wasn't getting overly fatigued about it, you know, like I can handle it, you know, I've done it all my life. So if I am to keep this steady routine for what, like 2-3 months, I think I'll start to see a difference, you know, and
I think your metabolism is also fast enough that you can get away with more junk.
And the point that I'm trying to make is that there's more than one way to skin a cat, you know. Obviously some are better than the other. Point being, there's more than one way to skin a cat. You know, some may be more effective than others, but for those who are like me, who don't want to sacrifice their food to the level that you have, and again, I say again and again and again, it's not a bad thing that you've done. This is the route that you've taken. Me, I personally am not willing to take that route just because I enjoy my food.
Also, like food was never toxic enough to you to where it got you to such a crazy bad place. Exactly.
You know? So because of that, you know, like there are people who have their issues with I can't eat this much, and if I eat this much, like it's gonna play on my mind and whatnot. It doesn't play on my mind.
Everybody's journey is different, but there's a lot of people out there who can relate to the fact that food has put you in a bad place before.
100%.
Food has caused you to look less optimal. And I'm not saying like all people who are overweight because they eat a lot. No, everybody obviously has, certain people have medical conditions, certain people have whatever. But in my journey, and I know there's a lot of people like me, young people like me, who struggle with this because all of the food that we eat is really unhealthy. Everything we eat is really bad, you know. So I think that sometimes people who have that struggle may need to take a more scientific approach and be like, let me just make sure everything's right. Not start so I don't have to starve myself or fall into those bad effects. Let me make sure everything's right in terms of intake, in terms of whatever, and let me make sure you know, like I'm able to control everything and measure everything off science, so I don't, you know, fail in my body doesn't trick me. And there's some people who are like you, who are like, okay, you know what? There's something like ACL surgery or whatever that happened to me that made me put on a little weight, but it's not to the point where it's like crazy noticeable or even that toxic. So you can take a more relaxed approach in beating it because your body's accustomed to being more slim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing that I wanted to discuss and talk about in terms of like the weight loss journey or the self improvement journey is, when it comes to changing your physical appearance, is self love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Self love is so important. You have to love yourself, because if you don't love yourself in general, who will? Right? A lot of us, when we start, when we start losing weight, when we start in these journeys, we go from a negative appearance to ourselves, negative self body image, to a positive one. You make certain levels of progress, and you go from looking in the mirror and hating what you see to looking in the mirror and loving what you see. You know? So that is really dangerous. And why it's dangerous is because you can really you have to love yourself unconditionally in whatever form you come in. I still deal with trauma in terms of my fat days, and I have to learn to go back and love that fat version of myself that is inside me. This is important. But a lot of people, and especially me, I lost sight of that. When I was losing weight and I was gaining, seeing all this progress, my muscles started to become more defined. I started to get more attention from people. It started playing on my mind. I started loving myself, but not because I loved myself. I started loving the progress. I loved myself. My self-love was based on progress. And so, I went through moments after that weight loss where I put on a little weight again and then lose it, then put it on and lose it. You know what I mean? When I reach a point where I'll put on some weight again, it will be really, really, really toxic, because I will not be able to love myself anymore, even though I did before when I was more optimal in my shape than now. It's so easy for you to fall in that trap of loving the progress and not really loving yourself. So you have to focus and keep in mind throughout the entire thing to love yourself. My self-love was never unconditional. I'm still learning to make that happen. Don't fall in that same trap, and make sure your self-love is also unconditional regardless. Like Hussein here, he loves himself whether he's eating healthy or eating 10 Nutella waffles a day. You know what I mean?
Never eaten more. Continue.
Okay, okay. Point proven. So yeah, that's about self-love. And what ties really heavily into that too is the concept of external validation. I know I'm making you sleep. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not making everybody else there sleep.
No, I've just heard this story a lot because I'm his brother. That's why. I swear to God, there's actually something in my eye.
Okay, so but yeah, essentially external validation. There's a lot of it when you make and especially when it's a change that's so much to do with your physical appearance. You look a certain way, so you go from being fat and undesirable and people not paying attention to you to being slim, more desirable by others, and people pay more attention to you. People look at you and actually he's not bad to look at. You know what I mean? Whereas before no one looked twice at you. When I remember the main summer that I made, in the beginning of year 12 or in the middle of year 12, I started making those changes, but I hadn't really made much progress until the summer between year 12 and year 13. And I started making so much progress in the summer. I went to Jordan. I remember every day was a gym in Jordan, 5 times a week, 6 times a week in Jordan. Every single day I watched my diet, I did everything, I cut out cheat days, progress went on another level. I came back and everybody was like, oh my God, Zaid, where's the other half of you? Zaid, where is this? And
how good did that feel?
My ego loved it. My ego loved it so much that I just went to talk to people just so they can see me, so they can give me this compliment. I was talking to people I fell out with, just going to make conversations so they can see me, and my ego loved it because you don't like me, but you have to give me this compliment. It's thriving on this external validation. It felt good at the time, but it created this sense what's dangerous about it. External validation is not bad in doses. It's not bad for me to tell you look good, for me to tell somebody that their progress is nice and whatever, that they've worked hard on something, that I validated for them. That's not bad always, but it's bad up after a certain level where you can't validate yourself outside of it. For me, that created such a trap for the future to where I could never validate myself outside of other people commenting on me, to the point where I would lose weight. I would or not even lose. I would work hard at something. I would do well in university. I know my average is okay, or it's good, or I got a good grade in this course. I can't compute. I can't tell myself I got a good grade until somebody looks at it and says, "Oh, you got a good grade." My ego starts eating. It starts loving it. So, what I would advise is just take care. When you when you make progress, believe yourself that you made progress. Don't, yeah, I think it keeps going, so I'll just switch it after. Believe yourself that you made progress. Don't be in the trap of, oh, let me go and show this person or that person. Maybe they'll tell me. Maybe that person never looked at me before, but now when they look at me, they're going to say this. If it comes, it comes. Amazing, you know? But don't look for it. Don't thrive off it. Whatever happens in your external, make sure the internal, you're able to still tell yourself you've done well, or that you're making good progress, and you can believe it, you know? Yeah, so I guess that's the majority of the points that I cover. I said I want to take the big takeaways that I want to give you from today's episode is force yourself to embrace the hard challenges for you. You know what I mean? You should be the one that spurs everything. Everything has to come from you. As much as for me, what started it was like talking to this girl and her telling me this and that, I started realizing that actually, like, towards like as after I had started made some progress, I said, you know what, this looks great for me. Let me do this for me. That's one thing I was able to fix as I started. I was able to shift my focus from doing it to impress that girl to now doing this for me. And I never pursued that girl after because I was so satisfied in my own progress for myself. That's one thing that I got right. Embrace the feeling of progress, I would also say. The journey itself is great. You don't have to reach the end destination for it to be an amazing experience. I could still be closer to my start point than my end point, my weight loss journey.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll have fun because I've made some progress and I'm enjoying that progress. And I'm enjoying the journey because I know it'll never happen again. It's that time in my life and that phase of my life where I was doing in terms of like studies and friends that I had and my social life at the time that never happened again. So
you know what I tell myself sometimes?
What?
When I'm happy and I look at myself in the mirror and my progress,
I'll do this while you say that.
I always say like, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm a lot better than where I was, you know? And that's always something that you can really enjoy, you know? Take every win you can get on the way.
Enjoy the wins on the way. You're not going to be perfect straight away. So learn to enjoy those, little progresses. No matter how small it is, if it gives you satisfaction, take it. I know some people, they have to invent progress to get them motivated. That's fine too. Oh, you might imagine you've seen some kind of small change, whether it's like me with the cheeks, whether it's like me, whatever, like whoever, you know what I mean? Do what you need to do to motivate yourself and enjoy that progress, even if you have to fake it till you make it a little bit, as long as you're moving forward, Don't be afraid of setbacks along the way. Like we said, you're going to hit plateaus. You might hit, and this is weight loss and anything. You might hit periods of time where you're not going to make progress. Power through. Fix what wasn't working, go back and look at what wasn't working, fix it, and continue. You'll be much happier for it. You'll save yourself so much headaches taking this approach, and you'll be so happy you stayed on that journey, right? And the last thing that I really, really, really want to stress, please be careful of mind games. Food mind games are serious. They're so real. Be careful. Follow the scientific approaches. Follow calorie calculators. Go see dietitian. Seek help if you're able to. You have the means and you want to do that. I would definitely encourage it. Seek a dietitian. Seek a specialist. And talk to people. Talk to the trainers in your gym. Book a training session if you can't afford a dietitian. Ask them. My gym offers kickoff sessions or whatever where you can sit and talk with someone. They can give you advice on your diet, on your whatever. Talk to somebody who knows better than you. Is my point. There's some external.
Always swallow your pride and your ego.
Like, you don't know everything.
Never think like, oh, what is this guy telling me? He doesn't even know. I know. Like I studied sports science for a couple of years. I'm victim of that because sometimes Zaid will come and tell me something about diet, and I'll just be like, why are you telling me? I studied this. I know. Whereas in reality, you should just if you don't know something, just so what?
The only person who loses out on progress from not knowing something is you.
Yourself, yeah.
And sometimes, just quickly to add on to that point, sometimes you might hear something and it might be fully valid and you might in the depths of your heart know that it's valid, but it's uncomfortable to hear. Mm-hmm. It will require a big change from you. If you're doing this exercise wrong, but you've reached a certain weight doing it this way. Now you want to reset to the right way, you're going to have to bring down your weight in the gym. That's uncomfortable. It feels like you're stepping back, but you have to swallow your ego, swallow your pride, implement that change and say, I'm taking the scientific approach in every way. That also means fixing what I had done wrong before, even if it means taking one step back, take two steps forward.
One final note. If you're ever hungry, frozen waffle, Nutella, whipped cream, and you will thank me later. You will thank me later.
Okay, that's his recipe. My recipe.
Oh, stay hungry.
No,
it's good.
That's old Zaid. That's old Zaid. No, my recipe is take that same waffle, right? Instead of putting Nutella, you can go two ways. You want to sweet?
Are you gonna talk about your peanut butter powder?
Yeah. No, it's really good.
Continue.
This is coming from someone who's never tried peanut butter powder.
I have Nutella. I'll never try peanut butter powder.
You know, there's the peanut butter powder. You put water on it, it exactly becomes peanut butter.
Oh, so you know what you can get instead?
What?
Peanut butter.
But that one is like, it's better because it has less fats. It has less fats. It's better, you know? Go with that. Put that on. Put some honey. Go for some light whipped cream. Put some honey. Or you can even go take your waffle. Put a little cottage cheese on it.
With some Mountain Dew on the side. I'm sorry.
I'm confused. When have you ever seen me eat or drink Mountain Dew?
No, that's for me. My advice.
Okay, yeah. Mountain Dew if you want to, I guess, follow his boat. But for me, like...
You know, apparently, Mountain Dew, here's a fun fact of the day. Mountain Dew reduces your sperm count.
But Red Bull gives you wings.
But Mountain Dew reduces your sperm count. Don't check my fridge. Because I definitely don't have Mountain Dew in there.
More you know. I'd be careful. A lot of these foods have bad effects that you don't, you know what I mean? You don't know about.
Mama always says chips give you cancer. Chocolates give you cancer.
To be honest,
give you cancer.
To be honest, she's probably right.
I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm just saying this is what I learned.
You know, like, just take care.
Cancer is a bigger possibility than you think with these foods. It's the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, just see, like, if maybe like it's worth it just for that aspect as well from health to fix it up. But as far as that, like, I think that's it for me for my weight loss journey and stuff. That's a wrap on the main topics that I want to discuss. Hussein, very quickly, is there anybody you wanted to shout out very quickly towards the end of the podcast? Anyone that you want to give props to? Anyone that you want to big up?
Mama, if you're watching this, tell Baba I'm joking.
What did you want to tell Baba?
Tell Baba shout out to you. No, cut that out. No, I have blessings. You know, I'm grateful. I'm happy. I've nobody to shout out as of yet.
Really, I want to shout out my mom and dad, Mama Baba.
Okay, me also. I want to shout out my mom and dad too.
I want to shout out Mama and Baba. I want to shout out Mush Mush, my little brother Mush Mush. So we live in Canada for university. My family's back home in UAE, United Arab Emirates. Mush Mush is with them now. Shout out Mush Mush. I know we don't talk as much, but like, I love you, you know? So, you know, keep doing what you do, keep doing good in school and stuff.
What he said, but from me too.
Fair enough. Shout out Mush Mush. Who else do we want to shout out? Shout out all my boys back home. You guys know who you are. Everyone from UAE.
What about your boys here?
They get their shout outs in the later episodes too. But I want to shout out my
boys back home. They don't get shout outs
right
now?
Right now, no, because I haven't seen my boys back home in a minute.
Okay.
The only one I have seen like recently is Khalid. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everybody who watched, even if it's one person, two people. I appreciate you guys, you both. Essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a platform for young people to bring their experiences to the forefront, bring their stories to the forefront, and discuss the important, elements of their lives, whether it be positive or negative, and learn from them. Teach us, advise us, give us something to take away. And hopefully we can really use each other and use each other's experiences to benefit, and one day, you know what I mean? Look back and say, oh, you know what I mean? We've put young people have been able to get together through such a platform and be like, and essentially help each other and benefit each other, and it's an interconnected world, but we're more lonely than ever now. Let's change that. Let's learn from each other.
Yeah. So thanks to everyone for being a part of this.
You all are a part of this, even if you're just watching us.
Watching, listening, whatever. If you're on, we go on Spotify and stuff too.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, well, we will catch you next time. Hopefully, it should be soon. And I hope everyone's having a blessed day.
Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you may be watching, whatever time,